Matt Berner here taking a look at the marquee event of the Los Alamitos meeting. It is the Grade 3 Los Alamitos Derby for 3-year-olds going 1.125 miles. Before we dive into the field, I'd encourage you to head on over to drf.com/bet, get all the latest details and offers for a new DRF Bets account. Again, drf.com/bet is the address. Let's take a look. There's only 5 that are going to go the 9-furlong distance. It's an interesting spot. Baffert has 2 in here. You always need to respect those. You've got graded stakes winners in here, and draft pick and blended citizen. You name it. You got a couple. It may not be a big field, but you could go a few different ways in here. We'll just take them right in post position order. Number 1 is draft pick for Peter Urt, and he broke his maiden 2 starts back. And all he did was wheel right back and win the Affirmed, a Grade 3 event at Santa Anita on June the 10th. Did so with a 92 buyer, highest last out figure in the field. Liked what he did, like his tactical ability. Doesn't have to go to the lead, can sit just off and actually pick up some ground and pass horses. I think draft pick is very logical in a spot like this. The only concern really boils down to the pace situation. We're going to take a look at the Timeform US pace projector in this spot. You see that blue bar? That's a little bit of a concern because the 3-horse Axeman, if you believe that, Axeman is going to be very, very difficult to run down. They have the 3, the 5, and the 1 in that order, and that could certainly compromise a horse like draft pick if the pace does not pick up. But I think he has the ability to get into the run a little bit earlier if necessary. I think he's a major, major player in here. The number 2 blended citizen, look, draw a line through the Belmont Stakes. I don't know what happened. He just didn't pick his feet up. His run 2 starts back in the Peter Pan was legitimate. I thought he finished very, very well, and he finished pretty darn well in the Bluegrass 3 starts back, and we know what some of those horses have come back to do. We know Good Magic was the runner-up in the Kentucky Derby. We know Core Beliefs, he came back to win the Ohio Derby a few weeks back, so it's not as though Blended Citizen hasn't been keeping good company. The question now becomes, how alarmed are you by that Belmont performance or the lack thereof? Because 2 starts back, if you had told me that he would be going into a race like this with a 90 buyer in his back pocket and distance is his friend, I would say, yeah, I like everything about it, but the Belmont was just such a non-effort. A little bit of a concerning piece there, but again, those runs 2 and 3 back, they're certainly competitive enough to make him a major player. The 3 is Axeman. The Axeman, in many ways, is the X factor to this race. Because from his talent standpoint, he might be the most talented. I think some people would argue he certainly is the most talented. But very similarly to what we spoke of with Blended Citizen, what the heck happened in the Matt Winn? He threw a little bit of a fit in the gate. He wasn't really loving life. Mike Smith said as much, that he just didn't seem to be acting himself. And he goes out there and completely bombs at odds of 1-2. Prior to that, you were left with 3 really sparkling performances, and the only dud, he got cooked early on in just a crazy pace duel in the San Vicente. But his 2 route races prior to the most recent start in the Matt Winn, they were both really, really strong. He has that big early speed. 9 furlongs, I don't think it's an issue for him, but at the same time, he's another one. Coming off of such a bad effort, do you really want to take him at a super short price? I don't personally. I think he can win this race. But look, in a 5-horse field, most of them are going to be able to win a race like this. Axeman, major player in here, but again, at a shortish price, I don't love him. Horse I'm a little bit more interested in, though, is the other Baffert in here. That's Once on Whiskey. I've been a big fan of this horse from the day that he broke his maiden, or the day he debuted, I should say, when he came with just a crazy finish to run 3rd. We have a positive formulator fact for Bob Baffert and Once on Whiskey. Past 5 years, dirt 61-180 day layoff, route races, graded stakes. 11 for 32, 22 times in the money, with a 211 ROI. Once on Whiskey gets Flavian Pratt here, Drayden Van Dyke. Looked like he could have had his choice. Don't know all the backroom politics there, but Van Dyke ends up on the other horse, Axeman. Once on Whiskey, Pratt has the mount here. I thought the most recent start, he loomed up on the outside, and he just finished kind of evenly down the lane. But at least it's good to know that that form of that race has held up. The runner-up that day, Honorable Treasure, came back to earn a 91 buyer. In his next start, the 4th-place finisher was a next-out winner with a 93 buyer. So Once on Whiskey's been keeping good company. Now the question becomes, do you think he can get 2 turns? I don't think it should be an issue when you look at the pedigree. You see Bodemeister on top, and you see a Mineshaft mare on the bottom. I've always been a little bit interested by this horse. I think there is some more ability here. I just don't know about the distance. I think he should get it. Wouldn't surprise me, though, if he ended up coming up wanting down the lane. Maybe he is going to be sort of that one-run, one-turn kind of horse. And the number 5 is King Cause. No disrespect for this Doug O'Neill trainee, but at the same time, he is just much slower as far as speed figures are concerned. He ran a decent 5th, and I understand he was beaten 10 lengths. He's going to have a little bit of tactical speed. I just have a hard time envisioning him working out a trip well enough where he can put away Axeman, and then he can hold off Draft Pick, and he can hold off Once on Whiskey, and hold off Blended Citizen. I do wonder almost if he's, I don't want to say the sacrificial lamb in here, but you see that there are two O'Neills in here. I wonder if the idea is to use King Cause and get him out there and try to push the pace a little bit to help Blended Citizen with his late kick. So it's only a 5-horse field, but I think it is a very sort of interesting race. You can go a few different ways in the Grade 3 Los Alamitos Derby. Pick time, I'm going to go to the inside. I like Draft Pick in his most recent start in the Affirmed, and I liked what he did that day. I think a mile and an eighth is going to be to his liking. To me, he's just an interesting horse going forward. Don't know if he's going to be a superstar, but realistically, he continues to put things together, and if he takes another step forward here, let's say he goes into the sort of mid to high 90 Beyer speed figure range, all of a sudden, this to me becomes a horse that you've got to be thinking about races like the Travers down the road or the Pennsylvania Derby. So I'm going to go 1, 4, and 2 in here. I want to try to beat Axeman. I understand he's probably the most likely winner of the race, but I like the other Baffert. I always have. Once on Whiskey is interesting to me. And again, Blended Citizen, if anybody wants 9 furlongs, it is a horse like that. So 1, 4, 2 for me in the Grade 3 Los Alamitos Derby, the marquee event of the Los Alamitos meeting. If you're playing this race or any of the other races from Los Al or anywhere for that matter, DRF Bets is the way to do it. Head on over to drf.com/bet for all the latest as far as details and offers are concerned for a new DRF Bets account. Scheduled post time for race number 8 out at Los Alamitos Saturday evening is 4:28 Pacific. Best of luck.